In today's video, I'm going to be building my own custom watch from parts ordered on AliExpress. Now, I've seen a few other videos of people doing this, and I thought it sounded like a really fun idea. I've been getting a little bit more into watches recently, so I've asked a couple of friends to do the same thing, and this is the plan. Each one of us are going to order our kind of dream watch, or at least the parts from AliExpress, and then we're all going to come together for a little watchmaking party, put our watches together and see what each other have ordered. So ever since I was a kid, there's one watch that's always stood out to me in my memory, and that is the Rolex Submariner, and in particular one that has the green bezel. I don't know why, I just remember it from seeing it on ads on the TV and seeing a couple people wearing it. And I always thought one day I'd love to own a watch like that. Rolexes are currently out of my price range, so I'm going to see if I can make a similar kind of watch from parts on AliExpress. Why don't we dive in and see what's available? Okay, so this is the current Submariner in green that Rolex have on their site. And you can see here it's a 41mm case. You can also see that it's $11,200, which sadly I do not have to spend on a watch right now. So let's see what I can find. Here we are in AliExpress. I'm gonna just type in Seiko movement. It's kind of hard to know which one to choose, but what's helpful on here is you can see it tells you how many of them are sold. And so this one has 10,000 plus sold. It's top selling. So without knowing too much about movements, I'm gonna go with this one. I think that has 10,000 sold. I mean, it looks pretty good to me, so I'm gonna add that to the cart. I think the current smallest size case for the Rolex Submariner is 41mm. This watch that I'm wearing right now is actually 36mm. I actually really love the size of it. So I'm thinking I want to get somewhere around a 38mm, 39mm watch case. I think that would be the perfect size for my wrists. Okay, so I found this one here. It's a 38mm vintage men's watch case. This one has the same kind of strap as the Submariner, the Rolex Submariner, and it's got the green bezel as well. So I really like this. The other thing that I like about this is that you can choose what kind of back. So it's got one with a stainless steel back, and then it's got one with a clear back. Just double checking down here, the dial diameter is for the NH35, so that's good because that's the one that I've just bought. So let's add that to the cart. I found these dials here that look pretty close to the Submariner. They've got the same kind of, design going on in a few different colors. I think this one here is the one that I like. 28.5mm watch dial. It looks like the Rolex one, so I'm gonna add this to the cart. So the last thing that I want to do, because I've gone with the clear back, I want to customize the rotor, the mechanism on the back of the movement, just to give it some individual flair. So I really like these kind of silver designs, and these are just, from what I understand, these are just stickers that you can stick onto the back of the movement. Let's add a couple of these into the cart. I have also ordered a whole bunch of tools that are really cheap. They come in sets, and the things that are going to help me to actually do the build. So I'm not going to talk about them all here, but if you want to see a list, I've listed them all in my description. So now all I need to do is wait for the stuff to arrive and wait for my friends to come over, and then we're going to make these watches. It's been just over 2 weeks and everything I ordered has now arrived. The shipping wasn't super fast. I think some of it arrived in about 10 days and then the rest of it took about 16 days to arrive. So just something to bear in mind when you're ordering. So let's open all of these up and make sure I got everything that I ordered and that I have everything I need for the build. Let's just start with this guy. Okay, so this is the dial and the hands, the watch hands. This is the case. It feels pretty solid and the size feels right as well. So yeah, pretty happy with that. All right, so here is the movement that I bought, the NH35 movement. And then the rest of this will be parts to help with the build. So everything's been unwrapped. Over here we have all the parts for the actual watch. And then all of this over here is equipment and tools that I'm going to use. Little finger gloves or finger condoms, some extra parts like tweezers, Rodeco, and then I bought this movement holder, which you can put the movement in while you try and do adjustments and things like that. But all that's left now is to build the watch and see how it goes. So I had grand plans of filming the entire watch build process from start to finish, documenting each step along the way for myself and my two friends, Josh and Parker. However, things did not go to plan, and I quickly learned how naive I was about building this watch. Things started out okay. I managed to get the dial onto the movement pretty easily, and so I was feeling confident. However, once we started to work with the hands and trying to attach them to the movement, reality started to set in. The hour hand and minute hand were tricky to get on, but we managed them in about 15 to 20 minutes. But once we started on the second hand, it suddenly dawned on us that this was going to be a lot harder than it seemed from all of the YouTube videos we've been watching beforehand. Instead of filming the build step by step, what you're seeing here is just sped up footage of as much of the build as I could capture because I was too focused on trying to get the hands on the dial and I completely forgot all about filming. What you can't really tell from this footage is just how finicky and small the second hand is. Multiple times the hand would ping out from the tweezers and get lost either on the table or on the floor, and we'd have to use a flashlight to try and locate it.
3 hours later.
Eventually, after struggling for about 3 hours and watching a couple more YouTube tutorials, I finally figured out, with the help of a child's magnifying glass, how to get the second hand in. Up until that point, we'd already broken 2 second hands by pushing too hard to try and get them in. But after some finessing, we figured out that all you need is a gentle touch to get the second hand in. Even once I had the second hand on, I noticed that there was some Rodeco stuck onto the minute hand. So I had to remove it, clean it, and start all over again. After the hands, we thought it would get easier, but even just trying to release the crown stem from the movement proved difficult. Finally, Parker managed to figure out where to push exactly on the lever and was able to get them out. And then the next part was adjusting the stem length. Sticking the rotor sticker on the back was fine, although I didn't get it lined up correctly first time, so of course I had to take it off and do it again. It seemed like nothing went right first time on this build, and by this point it was already 1 AM and I was tired, but I finally managed to finish the build. Okay, so the watch build is finished. I am wearing the watch on my wrist right now. So here are my thoughts on the final product and also the process. Coming into this, I thought it was going to be super fun. I think I really underestimated how hard it was going to be. It was much trickier than I thought it would be. And so my first thought is, if you're looking for something fun and easy to do, this watch build definitely isn't it, in my opinion. It was tricky, it was time consuming, it required a lot of patience. I got frustrated quite a bit going through it. And so in the end, is it all worth it? Well, I'm really happy with the watch. I like how it looks. And obviously for the price, it's great value. And it's also kind of cool to have something that I can say, you know, I built this. I think if you go into it with the mindset that this is going to be quite tricky and it's going to require some patience, then I think you'll be fine. Okay, so here's a bit of advice that I would give to anyone else who's trying to do their own custom watch build. Firstly, you cannot do it without the right tools, and I can't stress that enough. And even having watched a bunch of other people do it and having bought tools, there were still some things that I was missing. And the main thing that I was missing that I had to do a makeshift version of was a magnifying glass. Having something that can magnify the build and allow you to see really small details is crucial. And this is especially important for putting on the second hand. The second hand is so small and so fiddly. There's this tiny little bump that has to fit right in the exact place. I wouldn't have been able to do it without this magnifying glass that I've taped to this coaster so that I could kind of hold it up to my eye as I was trying to place it on. So I would definitely recommend buying a magnifying glass of some sort. The second most important thing was definitely to have something to hold the movement in. We all used this part. It was super helpful just to have a place where the movement sits. So I would highly recommend getting one of these. Thirdly, you definitely need tweezers, and you want to get these ones that are very thin at the end, sort of like needle pliers or tweezers or whatever you call them. This was super helpful, especially when you're trying to pick up the hands and you're trying to get the tiny little second hand. This is super helpful to get things in place. We needed this tool, which I actually ended up buying this on Amazon because I forgot to buy it from AliExpress in the end. And this allows you to take off the hands, and all of us at some point needed to take off the hands that we'd already put on, either because they weren't put on properly or they weren't put in the right order. So definitely helpful. And finally, this little ball thing that you use to open the back of the watch. Super helpful because it's just kind of fiddly to get that open. So recommend getting one of these as well. By far, getting the hands on and in the right position was the hardest part of the whole thing. So my tip would be, make sure you've got the crown pushed in on the movement when you're trying to put the second hand in, because you just literally need to line it up on top and gently tap it in, and once it takes, it starts to turn, and that's when you know that you've got it in the right place. The final thing that was a little bit tricky was just sizing the stem. The most important thing is to make sure you order extra stems. I think I ordered in the end about 10 extra stems, and we probably went through at least 5. But the key there is just patience, but also making sure you have extra stems. Overall, I'm super happy with it. I love the color. The green really matches the Rolex Submariner that I was trying to take inspiration from and trying to clone. I'm really happy with the size of the case that I got. So this is a 38mm, and I really would not want to go any bigger than this. Really happy with the black color that I've chosen on the face, and even last night when I was going to bed and I took it off, I noticed that the hands were glowing in the dark, and I love that kind of nice little touch as well. I like the classic look of this strap, but I think if I were to order again, I would choose a different type of strap. For people with smaller wrists, this kind of clasp and strap are a little bit uncomfortable. I've had to make quite a few micro adjustments on the clasp, because even just to get it to fit, I've had to take all of the possible removable links out, and it still wasn't small enough for my wrist. So I've had to make those adjustments, and now I've got it at the right size. But I wouldn't say it's the most comfortable bracelet. I may end up switching this bracelet out for something a little bit more comfortable. I'm pleased that I went with the clear case on the back. The little sticker was just a nice little touch. It's kind of one of those ways where I can say, you know, I've just added my own little flair to the watch, and that's what doing a custom build is all about. You can make decisions that you want to make, and you can add the things that you want to add. Okay, so finally, would I recommend other people do this, and would I do it again myself? If you were to ask me last night, after I just completed the build, if I would do this again, the answer probably would have been no, because it was about 1 AM and I was thinking to myself, I'm never gonna do this again. But now I've had a good night's sleep, and it's the next day and I'm wearing the watch. And what I think is I've learned so much from that first experience. So the first time is always gonna be the hardest. And now that I understand how it works, it's such a learning curve and such a learning experience. And you know, I don't have a huge amount of knowledge and background in watches anyway. So I think I will probably do it again eventually, but at least this time I'm going in with my eyes open, and I understand how challenging it's going to be, but also having learnt some of the things from this first experience, it'll probably be easier as well. Would I recommend you doing your own watch build? I think if you're up for the challenge, if you don't get frustrated too easily and you have patience, then yeah, definitely why not give it a go? But just be aware that it might be a little harder than it looks. I hope this video has given you a realistic view of what it's like to build your own watch. Overall, I'm pleased, and like I said, I'm really happy with the watch, and I probably will end up doing it again. But let me know what you think. Will you do your own watch build? And if so, what type of watch are you going to build? That's all for me for this time, and I will see you in the next one.